What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F123 My Team Career Mode. We are at the penultimate round of the season in Portugal. Portugal back on the calendar after taking a year or two out of the calendar, and I am immensely excited for this one because in last year's game it was always a track I tended to do pretty well around. I don't really remember ever having a bad race at Portugal, apart from maybe if I had a mechanical failure, but obviously I'm hoping that doesn't happen here today, fingers crossed, especially considering we've had a lot of mechanical failures earlier in the season. Last race we were in another Portuguese speaking country. It was of course the Brazilian Grand Prix, and we struggled home in P2 in the sprint, having been leading for the majority of the time. We just couldn't quite get that straight line speed across the line, and Valtteri Bottas pipped us to P1. But then in the race we managed to jump him off the start, and we held firm and we won the race, and that has maybe given me the belief that we are capable of still finishing P6 in the Constructors' Championship. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take probably at least one more victory, I would say, in these last couple races in Portugal and Las Vegas, but it is not out of the question, I would say. I think that we do have a chance of winning here. The only thing that might put a spanner in the works there is that rain which seems to be on the horizon, or potentially this, which is the fact that the gearbox is pretty worn now, so we are going to have to take a fairly worn gearbox. It's less than 60%, so it's nothing I should be too concerned about, I don't think. However, in Vegas, we're either going to have to take a grid penalty for taking a new gearbox, which would really harm our chances of getting a good result there, or we're going to have to take a slightly worn gearbox and pray that it lasts for the entire duration. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens regarding this race, because that's going to massively inform our decisions for the following race. Practice was fine, you know, we had pretty decent pace on those mediums, nothing too much to worry about there in terms of how far away we are from the guys on the softs. You know, we had pretty good tyre wear. I think the factor was 0.99, so basically exactly what they were expecting from us. And yeah, I think that we have a good chance to do well in qualifying as well. So that's going to be the target. We've had 5 pole positions in a row. I'm hoping that it's going to be. I'm hoping there's going to be 6. If we can get a pole position here in Portugal as well, and if we can do that, then I fully believe we have the capability to win the race. Like I said, the only thing that I think could potentially mess up our chances of doing that is going to be if we get that rain coming in at a bad time for us, if we mess up the strategy. But if we nail the strategy, I think we have a really good chance of winning here today. So we're going to get into qualifying now, and we're going around for the first time on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. It's been a pretty decent lap to kick things off. I remember to take the fuel out, so we weren't sandbagging at all throughout the session, and we go fastest with a 1:16.2 to kick things off. However, as the session unfolds, that time I believe will topple. Actually, no, it doesn't. Okay, but we do manage to find a little bit of improvement on a second set of fresh soft compound tyres. Regardless, you know, I've realised that as we cross the line to go into the 1:16.0s, I've realised that perhaps things aren't quite as exciting if I try and save 2 sets of tyres towards the end of the qualifying, because I don't know, it usually means that we get things wrapped up before it's actually over, and that's not particularly exciting. The eliminations here: Fittipaldi, Hulkenberg, Sargent, Hauger, Joe, and De Vries. Nobody that I'm too surprised about, to be honest. Maybe Joe, because he's had some pretty decent qualies recently. You know, he's been looking like a points contender, but maybe the Alfa Romeo falling back a little bit. Again, Hauger not quite where I'd like him to be in that 20th, but I think things are pretty much all wrapped up in terms of renewing his contract. I'm not really interested in trying to sign any other driver. You know, I've saved up a lot of money, so maybe I'm going to change my mind between now and then, but I don't think so. I think we'll wait till we've got a stronger car. We go around on a used set of soft compound tyres to kick off Q2, and it's a 1:16.4 for us, which you know, is a pretty good time on the used soft compound tyres, but we can find a lot of improvement on the fresh soft compound tyres, and we do just that. We're improving by over 8 tenths here, almost 9 tenths as we come up to the line. It's a 1:15.6, and that should be good enough to see us through in P1 once again, and yes, indeed, it does. So, looking like the favourite for pole position right now. We've been fastest in Q1 and Q2. Can we be the fastest in Q3 as well? You can see that, well, in terms of beating Haas in the Constructors' Championship, things are looking good for us because Magnussen is out of the session. Ferrari as well. Carlos Sainz eliminated there, along with Tsunoda, Albon, and the 2 Alpines, Ocon and Gasly as well. So yeah, we're looking like there is a very strong chance, if we can get a good result here, that we could still catch Haas in the Constructors' Championship. Obviously, we're 34 points behind them, but if we've got this kind of pace in quali, then hopefully we can show this kind of pace in the race as well, and we should be able to hopefully bag 25 points here once again. It's a 1:16.1, and that was actually on a used set of tyres. So I was thinking to myself, wow, I wonder how much time there is potentially on the table here. We're only P3 at the moment, so we are going to need some improvement, but we are 5 tenths up as we come through the first couple of sectors, including a purple middle sector, which is absolutely fantastic. And if we can find a bit more improvement through the final sector, then we should be absolutely laughing our way to our 6th pole position in a row. We are absolutely dominant in quali. It's just in the race that we haven't been able to string things together so far, you know, due to grid penalties and you know, mechanical failures and all those kinds of things. But we crossed the line, and it is very comfortably P1. Really well, we are unstoppable in qualifying at the moment, but can we be stopped in the race?
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top 3 today. Robinson, Russell and Lando Norris. Goodbye for now then, but we are really just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Yeah, once again, it is a 6/10th gap to Russell behind. Meanwhile, the 2 Aston Martins actually Stroll out qualifying Alonso in P7 and P8 respectively. So George Russell definitely looking like he's going to extend his championship lead further, and I wonder if that Aston Martin has just fallen off a little bit over the course of this season perhaps. That's come at a bad time for them, because they would really want to they'd really want to be good, especially considering this is probably the team's one and only chance to win a Drivers' Championship, I would say. I mean, it depends on who they sign in the following season, but I don't think Stroll is really ever going to be world champion material in this save. Alonso, on the other hand, has been, and he's retiring at the end of this season, so if they don't bag it now, it could be a very long time before another opportunity comes around for them. So yeah, this is potentially a lost opportunity for them, lost opportunity for Red Bull as well, as they look good, and let's see if we can win in the Portuguese Grand Prix.
The Formula One circus has made its way to the southern coast of Portugal this week, and it's preparing for what I expect to be a terrific race here in Portimao. So Portimao features 15 turns over the course of its 2.9 mile length. 9 are right-handers, while 6 are to the left. This is a track with a lot of uphill action, which only accentuates the importance of getting those exits right, especially at turn 4, where a good line can present opportunities to pass on the way into turn 5. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Robinson lines up on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Bottas, Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Sainz, Ocon, Gasly, Fittipaldi, Sargent, Albon, Magnussen, Hauger, Hulkenberg, Joe, De Vries, and Max Verstappen completes the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. And joining me again for the race today, Natalie Pinkham. Joined once again by Anthony Davidson for this one. Ant, there's a lot of incidents on track recently for this driver. No one does that on purpose. It is part and parcel of racing, though.
It's not an ideal situation by any means. When you get into a bad run like that, there's always the risk of frustration creeping in, which can cause more mistakes and locks you into this vicious cycle. Hopefully today they can get through turn 1 cleanly and stay calm for the rest of the race.
Well, it looks like we are going to be doing a soft medium here today, which is exciting because we don't do too many of those. Usually our tyre wear is just a little bit too high for that to be really possible.
Okay, how was that
but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if the strategy works out for us. Obviously, we really did take a lot of life out of every set of softs we have in qualifying, so this may not be easy for us. But I'm optimistic that we can make this strategy work regardless. We're going to have a lot of fast guys behind us. The defending world champion and championship leader, George Russell. I think he's the championship leader. He's actually tied on points with Alonso at the moment. But I think he's had more wins. So I think he's leading at the moment. And, oh, actually, no, he's 3 points ahead now because of that race, isn't he? So, yeah, he's currently leading the championship. It's going to be hard to keep him behind, but we'll see what we can do as the lights come on and the lights go out. And I have no idea why they didn't make any sound, but it doesn't matter because we've had a good getaway regardless. We've gotten away from Russell well, and not only has Russell not gotten away well compared to me, but he's also been jumped by both McLarens there. So it is 1, 2, 3 for McLaren so far. I say 1, I don't know why I said 1, because that's me, of course, but 2, 3 for McLaren at this moment in time. Piastri leading Norris in that top 3, looking very, very strong. Those guys, this McLaren team has really come up over the last few races. I wonder if this gameplay patch that affected McLaren's performance a little bit has made them even perhaps too OP. I know it's happened in some other saves for other YouTubers as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case for me as well. But we are holding them off for now. However, Oscar Piastri is super close and potentially looking like he's even going to go for a move up my inside at some of these corners. And yeah, we are really not looking like we've got too much pace over these guys. I guess that's to be expected, right? Because we do have what, the 7th best car on the grid. You know, we're not the worst car on the grid by any means, but there are a number of cars who are supposed to be ahead of us in the performance index. And so the fact that we've been grabbing as many pole positions as we have, and also, you know, we got the win in Brazil, and we're looking like we might get another win here today if we can hold these guys off, or at least a podium if nothing else. It really does seem like we're looking good for maybe grabbing P6 in the Constructors' Championship off of this pace. But yeah, we are really, I don't want to say overperforming, because I don't believe in the concept of overperforming. If you can do something within the limitations of the car, then it's not overperforming, it's just pushing the car to the limit, which the other driver, if they're not doing it, is clearly not pushing the car to the limit. Oscar Piastri going for a bit of a move there up the inside, but it doesn't quite stick, and he's got to stay behind for the time being, as you might have heard from Mark there, that there was going to be some rain on the horizon. We knew that, and that was something that we were always expecting to happen. What it means, however, if the rain is going to be coming later in the race, is that we actually are in a pretty nice position where we can basically box whenever we want, because the rain is not going to be coming till sort of, I would say, 2/3 of the way through the race. You know, there was potentially even the opportunity for us to maybe start on the mediums and try and wait out the rain, but I didn't have that level of foresight, unfortunately. And not only that, but also, as you'll find out later on, every single person in this race started on the soft compound tyres, so I would have been putting myself at a disadvantage compared to basically everyone. And I mean, if Piastri or Norris had gapped me by 20 seconds over the course of the first stint, that would have been game over. So I honestly think that we've done the right thing here. The tyres are starting to go off quite a little bit now, and you can see that Piastri is not that close behind me actually, so I guess his tyres might be going off as well. But nonetheless, I am starting to really struggle on these soft compound tyres. You know, they're getting up to sort of 30-40% wear, and by the time lap 11 rolls around, I decide it's just not worth it anymore to try and push hard on these. You know, our box lap was meant to be lap 13, but you know, even if the rain doesn't come, we can do 22 laps on the mediums. I'm pretty confident of this, especially if they're fresh, which obviously these softs that we're on were not fresh. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic that the medium tyres should be fine. As long as we don't get too held up by traffic, we should be able to extend a bit more of a gap on Piastri and Norris and all of the cars behind. And yeah, hopefully we won't come under too much pressure in the second stint, at least until the rain comes. But you know, the rain can easily throw a spanner in the works at any moment, so we have to be prepared for that. Lap 13, and I'd caught up with Zhou Guanyu in that Alfa Romeo. He was obviously not going as quickly as me due to the fact that he's on used soft compound tyres, and he's in an Alfa Romeo, which typically I would say we are a little bit faster than. So I'm just going to try and get ahead of him as quickly as we can. He is fighting me a little bit here, which is a bit annoying, but we do manage to make the move stick, and we are going to be up into P21. So basically, if we want to retake the lead of this race, we're going to have to overtake every person in this race, either on track or in the pits. And the next of those cars is going to be this man, Nick De Vries, in the AlphaTauri. He's had some shocking luck this season. The car is not looking particularly good either. And yeah, I wonder if maybe he will endeavour to go for that Aston Martin seat. Who knows? I do think that it is going to be someone who's already on the grid. I don't think it's going to be someone who's actually, as Hulkenberg is retiring there, actually, from the race. I don't think it's going to be someone who's a rookie. I think it will be someone who's has experience. and is going to be you know, someone who's already on this grid. Hulkenberg retiring from the race there finally, and then he becomes the first retirement of the Grand Prix. And now we're going to try and get ahead of his teammate here, Kevin Magnussen, as we go up the inside, almost going to the back of my teammate Dennis Hauger there, and we have to actually take evasive maneuvers, but we turn that very dicey situation into a double overtake as we go around the outside of Hauger as well, and we are up into P13 now, and we're going to try and close down the AlphaTauri of Alex Albon. Went back to the team where it all started. He did after a brief excursion at Williams and at Red Bull. He's decided he's gone back to AlphaTauri for the time being, but who knows where he'll end up next. You know, I don't think that Aston Martin, that seat is out of the question for him. I could see it being him. I could see it being one of the Alpines. I could see it being one of the Haas drivers. I could see it being Tsunoda, Joe. I could see it being any of these guys, really. I don't even think Sargent is a completely unrealistic call. Watch it be like Lawson or Dragovic or someone like that now as we get ahead of Albon. And now we're going to try and pile some pressure on Pierre Gasly. We are carving our way to the field nicely. We've got ahead of a lot of cars in the pits. We've got ahead of both of the McLarens. So we should be in the lead once again. The only cars ahead of us now are Gasly, Fittipaldi, and Bottas, I believe, in the Mercedes, who was the Mercedes that was behind compared to his teammate. So he should not be far enough ahead to the point that we're going to have to worry about him, and indeed you can see it's a 13-second gap. The only thing I was slightly concerned about is whether, because the rain was only 5 minutes away, whether some of these guys were waiting out the rain or not, but I do think that that's pretty unlikely. We got ahead of Gasly now. We got a bit of an air gap here, so hopefully we shouldn't have to worry too much for the remainder of the Grand Prix when it comes to these guys pitting or not. I think they should be coming in. You can see Bottas is coming in. Hopefully Fittipaldi is too, and yes, he is. So that is us up into P1 once the pit stop phase has passed, and you can see, yep, we're back through into the lead. So we have effectively overtaken everyone on track. Currently, Norris is a bit faster than us on track, so we do have to be a little bit concerned about him. But hopefully it won't be too much of an issue for us. And you can see as we move around to the end of lap 18, he has caught us by about a second or so. So we do need to try and push quite hard to keep him behind. And as we move on to lap 19, you will start to notice, I'm just trying to keep an eye out for when it comes, it's very soon. There you go, some drops of rain coming onto the screen now, and yes, the rain is coming. We were saying it was going to come at some point, but we weren't sure quite when it was going to happen, and apparently lap 19 is when it was going to start, so within a few laps I would imagine it will be time for intermediate conditions. But the only thing is, the rain is only supposed to last for about 10 minutes or so. So, yeah, it is an interesting question of should we box or should we try and wait it out. I feel like 10 minutes is a bit too long. I had a league race where we had some short rain, and that only lasted for a few minutes. I boxed onto intermediate tyres, and it proved to be the wrong call, actually, because they really started to wear out once the track dried out again, and I still had about 3 or 4 laps left to do on them. So, yeah, it didn't work out in that scenario, but we'll see if it works out on this occasion as I'm boxing again on lap 22. You can see that Norris was actually pretty close behind me there, but he's opted not to box yet. But you can see the track is pretty bloody damp at this point, so I feel like surely it's got to be the right time. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't. And, yeah, we're coming in. Hopefully it's another good stop. We have, of course, done some of those pit stop upgrades, and that has helped as Piastri retires from the race. That's devastating for him because he was looking like he was going to be getting a top 5 finish here. And, I mean, the McLaren boys, both of them, having a really strong end to the season. But, yeah, we'll see what happened with him. Some kind of mechanical failure, I imagine, much like it was the case with Hulkenberg. It's always hard when there's a bit of spray to see whether there's smoke coming out the back of these cars. It doesn't seem like there is in this case with Piastri. I haven't seen any evidence of any smoke, so I would imagine that maybe this is gearbox related rather than engine related, but still very disappointing for him. Now at the end of lap 23, you can see that basically everyone is coming into the pits. Even some teams are double stacking, you know, the Aston Martins, the Ferraris, the Mercedes, the Red Bulls, all of those guys double stacking, and we come out comfortably ahead of Lando Norris with just 10 laps left to go in this Grand Prix. Hopefully we can hold on for 10 laps. But yeah, I mean, it didn't go all our own way, as you can see. Lap 26, Norris is within a second of us. Obviously DRS has been fully disabled at this point due to how wet it is. But I don't think that we're going to have things all our own way, especially because as we move on to lap 27, the rain is actually starting to slow down a bit and the track is drying out. So within only a matter of about 5 laps or so, not even 5 laps, it's not as wet as it once was. The rain getting lighter and lighter, and they think it's going to end. So what it's going to be is a question of, do we actually box again for a set of slick tyres, or do we try and go to the end on the intermediates? I feel like the deficit on the intermediates compared to slick tyres on a dry track is only a few seconds, so I feel like it's not so bad, and we should probably go to the end on these tyres. But it was at least interesting, and by the time we got to the end of lap 28, Norris had so much more pace than me, it was ridiculous. I was overheating my tyres a little bit, but I was having to burn so much battery to try and keep him behind. And even that wasn't surefire. As you can see, he is going to go for a move here up the inside. He's going to dive up the inside, brake a little bit later, and I don't know why or how, but somehow we've managed to hold him off around the outside. And yeah, we're only a few laps away from the end now, but it is going to be absolutely relentless from Lando Norris, I would imagine, to the end now. Russell has also joined the fight a little bit. You know, I'm having to burn a lot of battery to keep him behind, because through that final corner, I am so much slower than they are. I just can't seem to carry the grip and the traction through that corner compared to everyone else. We do a similar thing to what we did in the previous lap at the beginning of lap 30. Yeah, we managed to hold Norris off once again. But my goodness, this is not easy by any stretch of the imagination to try and hold him off. And as we make our way through onto lap 31, the DRS has been re-enabled. So we're now going to be coming under pressure from Norris and Russell, and potentially Sainz and Bottas if they can close up as well. With DRS, with superior traction, superior tyres, and probably more battery as well, to be perfectly honest. And we've got a worn-out gearbox. This is going to be some defense if we can pull it off for these last few laps. I will be very surprised if we are capable of making this happen. But yeah, 2/10 is the gap to Lando Norris. Surely with the DRS, he will be able to mount an attack on me now. Is he going to come to my inside? He hasn't yet, to be honest, but as we come to the end of the lap, you can see here he comes up the inside. But once again, we just about managed to squeeze him out and hold him off. And I don't know how I'm pulling this off, but I just about am. And yeah, now we've just got one last lap to try and hold him off for, really. Lap 32. Are we going to be able to keep him behind for lap 33? You can see he's really closing me down this time, and at this point I was firmly ready to just surrender to him, but I thought I'll give it a go anyway, and we dive back round the outside. I don't know how we've managed to keep him behind one more time, but we have, and we actually, in the confusion, go a little bit deep into the following corner, and that is going to allow him to maybe mount an attack back on us into the next DRS zone. That said though, he is falling away from us a little bit, and I think we're going to be able to hold him off here, but still, this is absolutely chaotic right now. This is probably one of the most stressful ends to a Grand Prix I have ever had. Just relentless lap after lap attacks from Lando Norris. He wants this victory, but I want this victory as well. I need this victory for the Constructors' Championship. I know that probably McLaren want to try and catch Ferrari in the Constructors as well, and with McLaren only having one car scoring points, but I think Ferrari actually having both. You know, Sainz was obviously eliminated in Q2, but he's worked his way back into 4th. Meanwhile, Leclerc, I believe, is in 9th. So McLaren should still be outscoring Ferrari here regardless. But I don't know if it'll be enough to jump them in the Constructors' standings. So, yeah, but I mean, I don't really care about them. I've got to focus on myself first and foremost. And if we don't finish P6 in the Constructors, we're not going to get that sponsorship bonus. We round the final corner. We just have to hold Lando Norris off through the start of the DRS zone, and we manage it. The gap is very small, but we're going to take our 3rd victory of the season, our 2nd in a row here, and now the pressure is off a little bit here. We just need to get P5 in Las Vegas, and that will be enough for us to hold on to P6 in the Constructors' Championship.
And that's it then for the Portuguese Grand Prix, and what a sensational victory they've managed to pull off here. Natalie, fill us in. What was it that helped the team achieve their success today?
Well, they are very much at one with the car, which is a cliche, but it's true. It's not an easy process, and that work is very much paying off.
Welcome then to the podium, our top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
Well, it is, of course, the victory for me, and yeah, that is absolutely crucial for our championship chances. I think with that, I don't think Haas scored points, so we moved to just 9 points behind them in the Constructors' Championship. Lando Norris picks up P2. I feel like McLaren is not who our fight is with anymore. I feel like it's with Haas. We just have to try and close them down. And Russell takes P3 in a race where Aston Martin struggled. I think that is going to move him very comfortably into the lead of the Drivers' Championship.
Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. That's a positive result for George Russell, who further solidifies his position at the top of the standings. Let's focus on driver of the day, Natalie Pinkham. Come on, who do you pick?
I have to give it to Robinson.
Let's move on to the constructors. Mercedes moved to the top of the table. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who's joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Goodness me, what a amazing battle that has taken place over the season between us and Haas and McLaren, and also between the top three teams, Mercedes, Aston Martin and Red Bull. George Russell now leads the Drivers' Championship by 14 points, which means that he's going to have a pretty poor race by his standards if Fernando Alonso wants any chance of getting that Drivers' Championship, that elusive third Drivers' Championship. He was looking quids in for it for most of this season. You know, after Perez kind of tailed off after the first few races of the season, Fernando Alonso was there to pick up the pieces. You know, Mercedes still weren't particularly strong at the beginning of the season, but eventually they managed to get their act together. Both George Russell and Valtteri Bottas have picked up a few race wins this season, and George Russell picking up big points, podiums in basically every race at this point in the season. So yeah, looking really, really solid. And yeah, we're now getting to that point in the season where finally the pace that we were showing that we weren't able to capitalize on from Hungary all the way through to Texas. Finally, in these last couple races, we've managed to come good. Now we just need P5 in Las Vegas, and that is all we need. We need a 5th place in Las Vegas, or I guess we need P6 with fastest lap. That would also work, but ideally P5, because P6 with fastest lap would put us tied on points. But if I'm correct, we've won 3 races this season, and Haas have only won 2, so that should take us ahead of them in the Constructors' Championship by virtue of race wins. I think that's how it works, hopefully. Yeah, Dennis Hauger obviously not making too much of a contribution to the team this season, but on the off chance that we do beat Haas by only, a point this season, then Dennis Hauger's 1 point that he scored this season in Baku actually does make a huge difference. You know, in that scenario where we scored 9 points next race, Dennis Hauger was the difference between us getting about, $6 million and not getting it. So, yeah, I feel like that is enough for me to say that that I'm happy with the performance that he's shown this season, even if even if he hasn't been as amazing as maybe I was hoping he would be. You know, it is only his first season. Obviously, next season, once we've got those facility upgrades to level 3 and we can start investing in level 3 spec parts for our car, then we can start upgrading the personnel facility to level 2 and level 3, and that's when Dennis Hauger should really start to come good in this My Team Career Mode series. I want to keep him contracted. I want to maybe even have a championship battle with him at some point. I don't know if it'll be possible. I guess next season will be the telltale. We really need him to start picking up some big points. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I'm very confident that we're going to re-sign him for the following season. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you check out next video, the season finale in Las Vegas, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.